Before we talk about the future, we have to examine our past. And I want to share this quote from sci-fi genius Octavia Butler.
I know. What was that?
To help ground us.
I don't know. Guys, keep your microphones muted, so we can not lose any of the info that we're sharing. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Shay. So this is a quote from Octavia Butler. It reads, "Of course, writing novels about the future doesn't give me any special ability to foretell the future, but it does encourage me to use our past and present behaviors as guides to keep our world we seem to be creating. The past, for example, is filled with repeating cycles of strength and weakness and stupidity, empire and ashes. To study history is to study humanity, and to try to foretell the future without studying history is like trying to learn to read without bothering to learn the alphabet." And that's Octavia Butler. So we need to have this conversation using the same alphabet. So as we build on these concepts, we can understand the trajectory of justice and our roles in shaping it. Before what we know is the transatlantic slave trade got a firm hold on labor, landowners used indentured servants that worked the land in exchange for a promise of their own land. But as you can imagine, conditions weren't safe, and most people died before they hit the 7th and final year of servitude. That's why people decided to break their contracts and run away. People made this calculation regularly, and when they ran away together in groups. In 1640, John Punch, an African, ran away with a Scotsman, a Dutchman, and when they were captured, the Scotsman and the Dutchman got 4 more years of servitude. John Punch, the African, is sentenced to perpetual servitude. This is a message to those people that would go to be considered white, that they had a stake in maintaining this order, the order that became known as chattel slavery. As the institution of slavery became established, so was a force to control the order. It was well documented that slave patrols served as a foundation for modern police forces. And we know that Providence and other northern states incrementally phased out slavery and didn't have the same need for slave patrols in the 1800s. But they had a system with like night watchmen or day watchmen. Their duties, as the Providence Journal puts it, was to quell rowdies and to catch thieves and control riots. But when you read about the accounts of riots of Hardscrabble in 1826 and Snowtown in 1831 that led to the incorporation of Providence as a city, it gives you an understanding of how the law and citizens of Providence felt about free Black population. So this is from the Free Negro in Providence, and it's an account of what happened after the incidents, the massacres, and the loss of property and wealth in Hardscrabble. So I'm going to read it here. It says, "After this example of mob violence, 4 white men were apprehended and brought to trial in the Providence courts. The account of the trial is revealing. According to the testimony, 40 or 50 white men took part in the destruction of Negroes' houses before an estimated crowd of 1,000 interested spectators. Apparently, there was no attempt made to stop the destruction. The testimony of the town watchman was reported as follows. He went there with Mr. Mann, his file leader, and they did not think it prudent or proper to interfere, considered he was doing his duty by going there and keeping as still as possible. 6 years after the destruction of Hardscrabble, Snowtown suffers a similar outcome in 1831. As a result of the violence against Black people and their homes in the city of Providence is incorporated. They don't immediately form a force that will prevent such violence against Black people. The city waits 3 decades. It's when the Civil War is winding down and the future of enslaved Africans in the country is unsure, that the mayor, Thomas Doyle, pushes for the creation of a police department in Providence. They fill the ranks with white Civil War veterans. There won't be any non-white officers until after the Second World War. It is in this time of legal white supremacy, legal discrimination when people that are most vulnerable to the cruelty of society are legally shut out from developing those systems. It's at this time when the police force and the large criminal justice system are utilized as a mechanism to extract labor from formerly enslaved people, as well as cracking down on unionized and organized labor. And so there's like a whole lot more, and I suggest that folks like do reading, and we'll give you some tools for like digging into it deeper. But I do want to hop in here and like share a little bit about the war on drugs, which I think is like a modern engine of a lot of the things that we're seeing around policing. And this comes from John Ehrlichman, and he was the domestic affairs aide to Nixon. And he says this: the Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had two enemies: the anti-war left and black people. You understand what I'm saying? We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did.